to Jerusalem. And he's going to stop in Bethany to see some friends, and then he's going to make his way. Now, for the triumphal entry. So, Jesus understands his mission. He knows where he's going. Right? It's not a guessing game that he's on his way to the cross. That's heavy. And he's not going to allow anyone to take him off course. He's got his mind fixed. The crowd's not going to sway him. The praise isn't going to distract him. All the people who want him to heal people is not going to distract him. But as he's passing through Jericho, once again, they're going to see something that's going to be a lesson learned from us. That the busiest man ever to exist found time for one individual. Anybody busier than Jesus? Anybody got crowds circling him every day? Anybody got paparazzi chasing him? No, not near. No, I guess not. Right? So, we take the busiest man to ever exist, and somehow he finds his way through the crowd. He finds the one man in a mulberry tree. The short guy looking down on him, and he finds him. And he makes time for him. And it's a lesson for us to always find time for the individual. You remember the woman at the well? The Samaritan woman that nobody else would talk to? You remember the woman who touched the hem of his garment? He was actually on the way to heal another set of children of another set of parents when he got stopped by Zacchaeus. It's interesting. Although he was so busy, he found time. Now, this whole world is when God itself in a great big hurry. And I'm young, and I'm part of that fast and furious thing. I mean, my life's busy. But it's not good to be too busy. It's not good. The problem is that we find all kinds of time for ourselves and the things we want to do. Boy, when somebody else asks us to do something, we find all kinds of excuses not to, don't we? Well, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be doing that. I think it's super important that we understand our priorities. Christ is first and foremost our priorities. Our brethren are our priorities. I want to encourage you to put those priorities in place. If your life doesn't reflect that, if your life revolves around work, or your life revolves around something else, or church, the body, I'm not talking about this building. If this building burns down today, guess what? The church is still here. I'm saying if your life doesn't revolve around Christ, and Christ revolves around everything else in your life, fix your mind today. Those aren't the things that are going to get you ahead. Those are all temporary things. What do we live? 70, 80, 90 years if we're lucky, 100 years if we're lucky. But guess what? You're going to live forever. And the guy at work, he's going to live forever too. Don't forget that. Make sure that our priorities are in place. Make sure that we make time for the one individual. We can take a lesson from Jesus in this whole event in making time. Back to Zacchaeus real quick. He's in the tree. I can see the tree's got leaves on it. He's peering through the leaves. He sees Jesus covered by the crowd. He's looking. As Jesus comes closer to the tree, closer to the tree, closer to the tree, you can see through the leaves. He sees his face. Oh, that's good. It's like, oh, he's not special. Yeah. Ain't that tall? And he looks, and Jesus begins to approach the tree. And he's thinking, man, that's really getting a good look. And Jesus gets under the tree, and he stops. I can imagine it, at this point Zacchaeus is going, what is he doing? He's close. This is the man who's been healing the sick and raising the dead. There's no man ever to exist like him. He's peering down through the tree at it. And Jesus looks up. Never have met him. And what's he say? His name. Zacchaeus, hurry up and come down here. Could you imagine his heart, how his heart knows? How does he know who I am? How does he know me? Oh no, he knows me. That's probably what he thought. People with baggage, people with things to hide go, uh-oh. They do know who I am. Maybe they heard of me. That's bad for Zacchaeus, right? So, he climbs down. And Jesus says, come down. But remember this. He says, he didn't ask him, will you please come down? Or he doesn't make a statement and say, hey, come on down. Hey, I want to come to your house. He says, Zacchaeus, hurry down. I must come to your house. Remember, he knows where he's going. But he knew that it was important for him to be at Zacchaeus' place. And I can just see him saying, Zacchaeus, I know that you're a rich man. Come down. Think about this. That's a real tough place to be found when you're up in a tree positioning yourself above the Son of God. Here he is, standing above the Son of Man, the Almighty, and Jesus looks up to him and says, come down. That's a tough place to find yourself, isn't it? I know you're rich, but come on down. I know you're busy, man, but come on down. All right? I know you're a foreman at work, but come on down. Can you hear him speaking to us? Jeremy, I know you're busy, but stop putting yourself above me. Come down. You think we oftentimes find ourselves up above Jesus Christ in our priority list? Zacchaeus found himself above Jesus. Now all of a sudden, we can learn a lesson from this. Sometimes we choose what we want rather than what we know is right. So I want to encourage you guys that when we find ourselves up above Jesus, that we hurry down. We find ourselves in humility. Now, he tells him, I must stay at your house today. Must stay. In other words, Jesus has to visit Zacchaeus just a few days before his crucifixion. And he sees it as something he's got to do. I must stay there. Must go there. Now, remember, I said Jesus is concerned about his reputation being tarnished or what people thought because you heard him grumbling in the text. Right? And he's thinking about Zacchaeus. And he's saying, Zacchaeus, come down because you can't do what I have planned for you up in the tree. Now, I guess I want to say this to you. When we find ourselves above Christ in the tree, when we put ourselves above Christ in the things we do, when we put work above Christ in the things we do, we've all done it. You can't look me in the eye and say you haven't honestly done it. You can be the best foreman in the world. I can be the best electrical engineer in the world. But if I haven't served Christ with all my heart, who cares? When I pass from this life into the next, into the real eternal life, into eternity forever, and I can't stand before God and say, God, I gave it all for you. Who cares that I was the best? That's something here in the world. I want to store things up that have eternal principles, eternal treasures. And you made some cash? Great. You made some overtime? Great. I'm not down in those things. I'm just trying to encourage you to put your priorities in place and put Christ first. Stop putting ourselves above Christ and bring ourselves low. I once heard someone say this, that the tree that bears the most fruit hangs the lowest. A tree has fruit on its limb, it does this. When we bear fruit, we will be as humble as possible. We will hang low. We will put ourselves in a position to be below others and below Christ. That's an important position. Some of us, I think, have been just too high, too long. I use this